Hello and welcome back to YYC Business Speaks. Today we are here with Holly Blair and she owns Engineering Possibilities. Hi, Holly.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Julia?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on the show. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay, great. So my business is called Engineering Possibilities, and it's a Lean Six Sigma consulting business, which is a fancy way of saying that I work with small business owners and entrepreneurs and kind of small to medium corporations to work out business processes that will actually work for them and then be able to deliver their product or their services to their customers in a timely manner that saves money.
Okay. What's an example of like a process that you make work for someone?
Anything from manufacturing a product, like I worked with a plastics manufacturer in Edmonton recently, to working with other consultants to streamline their client intake processes, uh, from order to paying your customer, like they're called order to cash processes.
Okay.
Anything from how you order your product through to manufacturing it and then actually shipping it and selling it to customers. So anything really is a process.
Okay. So you come into a business and then you look at the processes they already have and then how they can streamline it to make it simpler, more effective, less cost, or
All of the above.
okay. Okay, good. I feel like I have a picture now of what you actually do. That's awesome. Really cool. How long have you been doing that for?
But 3.5 years
Okay.
officially.
Yeah, 3.5 years. Awesome. Okay. And I know you said you serve like small to medium-sized businesses. Like, is there a certain number of employees or less, or like, do you have a more specific target customer within businesses?
Yeah, so it's usually organizations that have up to about 200 employees, typically that manufacture a product or supply a service to an organization or to the public. And then I also have a program for entrepreneurs just because I like them. Because so they have business processes too that don't work. So then I have a lean entrepreneur program for them as well. So on the larger business side, it's up to about 200 employees manufacturing a product or providing a service. And then on the entrepreneur side, it can be anybody who's a one person employee business through to about 10.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about like the one employee business for a sec. What's an example with like an entrepreneur that you would work with them on?
Well, I worked with one who was an HR consultant. We worked through her client intake process and how to streamline that, and also streamline her proposal process so that she spent less time working on documents that may or may not go through with a client and more time on the projects that had actually been approved and were paying programs.
Okay. So then ultimately, when you looked at that process, did it save her time at the end of the day?
Yeah, we cut out about a week worth of time in a year for her proposal process, and we cut down, I think it was about 60% of the client intake process we classified as waste. So things that
Mm,
we're waiting for someone to do something, we're waiting for a product to arrive. We have defects in the process. Maybe you're missing information. You have to go back and find it later. That requires some rework. Um, all different kinds of things that get in the way of your processes being effective and efficient.
mm. Okay, yeah. That's really cool because we're all about, well, we as in like action coach, we're all about looking at processes and then how can they like decrease the amount of time that they're spending on something and create systems to be able to
Mhm.
take their time back. Right? So many business owners, they're working in their businesses for like anywhere between 10 and 16 hours a day or more. And like, how can we capture that time back so they're not spending so much time in their business and they're working more on their business? So that's
Exactly.
cool what you
I'd
do.
be the one that would create those systems and processes for the entrepreneurs or for the larger organizations.
Ah, I love it. So it's like so complementary to what we do.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's the greatest impact the pandemic has had on your business?
Biggest impact COVID-19 had on my business is my main contract completed early and quite unexpectedly. So I went from uh, having reliable source of income every month to zero in a matter of weeks. So yeah, kind of went from everything to nothing very quickly.
It's a pretty big impact, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then what's one or two actions that you've taken that have made a difference and shifted that since then?
Well, from there, what I looked at what I actually wanted to create with the business. So it gave me an opportunity to get really clear about, yes, what I want and how I want it to look.
Mhm.
And then from there, some of the actions I've taken are I created this really powerful LinkedIn lead generation system with with messaging people, getting to know them first, not being salesy right off the bat. Because you know how many of those emails you get in LinkedIn, you're just like, oh my God, ignore this. So
Yeah.
actually creating relationships with people and getting interested in what's important to them in their business, and then offering a conversation for how I could make a difference or contribute to that.
Mhm.
And then really otherwise, like opportunities to create partnerships with other people. I've created a partnership with my dad and his project management business in Ontario, and also taken advantage of a few government funding programs like the Canada Alberta Job Grant paid for 2/3 of the cost of training for a lean simulation that I led in Edmonton a few weeks ago. And then also partnering with the Canadian Manufacturing and Export Group for a grant program they have offered in Southern Ontario.
Wow. Okay, so there's like quite a number of things that you've done to transition yourself because you went from like having a contract that went really well, you went to zero and
Mhm.
then like rejigging everything. And then now you're back on the tracks with all these actions that you've taken.
Yeah, I actually I created myself as a bit of a workaholic over the pandemic and just was like, I am never going to have this much time to build my business ever again. And so
Right.
I've built expanded things on my website. I built a whole lean simulation with Lego that I
Wow.
invented. It's called Chaos Air, and it's the airline that leaves a lot to be desired. It's a messed up process that inherently does not work. And then through the course of the workshop, I teach the participants different lean tools and then they apply them right away. So they typically go from uh, an order of 30 airplanes in 20 minutes is the request from the customer. And in the first round, they typically make 2 or 3 that might pass the quality inspection in the 20 minutes. And it's just like this hopeless process that no one thinks is possible.
Mhm.
And by the end of the training, having applied all of the lean concepts, they typically can make all 30 airplanes with the 100% quality in sub 5 minutes.
Wow.
And then from there, they can take all the learnings. Because I don't really want people to be experts at building Lego airplanes as much as I want them to be experts at building processes in their own business that work.
Yeah.
So we take what they learn about the lean Lego simulation and then bring that into real life in their business and in their lives.
Okay. Cool. That
It's
sounds like
a
a
lot of
really
fun.
fun workshop.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what mistakes did you make along the way that other entrepreneurs can learn from?
Probably the biggest mistake I made is thinking too much, like getting into planning mode and not so much into action mode, and just trying things, see what works, what doesn't work, without being attached to the outcome. To be free to just try something and have a conversation with somebody, and then see where it leads, instead of thinking I already know how it's all going to work out and then not taking any action based on the fact that I'm clear it will probably fail.
Yeah.
So
That's so cool. That's
setting that
powerful.
aside and then creating I don't know what's about to happen, and just being interested in what people are dealing with and then looking for opportunities to contribute.
Yeah. That's awesome. I know I definitely used to do that too, where it's like, oh, I'd like sit in front of a LinkedIn message and it's like, what am I going to say to this person? Or am I even going to talk to them? Or man, this message sounds dumb. And like 20 minutes later, it's like I spent 20 minutes doing nothing when I could have just sent off a message and seen how it goes.
Yeah.
Ah, I love it. I'm so recreated. Okay, where can people find you, Holly?
You can visit my website. It's www.engineeringpossibilities.ca. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay, and are you on LinkedIn and Facebook as Holly Blair, or do you have a separate page for?
I have a separate page on LinkedIn for both Engineering Possibilities and myself, and on Facebook, it's myself.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything that you'd like to offer our viewers?
Anything I'd like to offer? Well, just that Lean Six Sigma is not as complicated as you might think it is. It's it's really quite simple. It's not complicated. It just sounds complicated. So if you're at all interested in it, just like start Googling it and see what you find. Lean process improvements, business processes. There's a ton of information out there online of what's available and it's all free. It's none of it is copyrighted or it's all open source. So you could actually find a lot of things there. And if you visit my website, there's some lean tools and resources you can download for free as well.
Okay, cool. So, and your website's engineeringpossibilities.ca.
CA.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Holly. One last question. Tell me what's most inspiring to you today.
What's most inspiring today is it's just thinking about how far I've come in such a short period of time. Like you told me 3 years ago, I'd be having 2 or 3 clients in my business and I'd be about to be able to leave a day job and launch into consulting full time. I wouldn't believe you. Because who I was for myself was this engineer who was afraid to talk to people. And out of this business, I've actually created it as my fullest self-expression of my being an engineer in combining making a difference for people with lean process improvement and ultimately creating processes that empower people and drive results in business. So it's like the funnest and the coolest thing I've ever created. And I have to like pinch myself from time to time of like, do you actually do this for a living and get paid? Like it's such a fun self-expression. So it's one of my favorite things I've ever created.
Wow. Yeah. So what I hear is like there's what you would think is like a typical engineer, and you've been able to extract yourself from that box to really
Mhm.
build something that you've really wanted to build in the form of your business. And you actually have fun doing it from day to day.
Yeah. It's
That
great.
is so cool. I love it. Yeah. And I know, like, I've known you for a few years now, and, from being a little more quiet to a little more, or to a lot more self-expressed now, and like, being on this interview and sharing about your business. That's super cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Julia.
Yeah, thanks for being on this show. Thanks for answering the questions and giving us some insight into your world with engineering possibilities. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we end this?
Just thank you for the opportunity. And if there's anyone who's interested in looking at the opportunity of Lean Six Sigma and how it can elevate the performance of your business and have you like see how you can launch yourself out of the pandemic, because it will come to an end, and just be set up to be effective and efficient in what you're offering your customers, then don't be afraid to reach out and let's have a conversation.
Awesome. That's a perfect ending to this episode. Thanks, Holly.
Great, Julia. Thank you.
Bye.